Let's go. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's watching, listening. And by the end of this video, I'm sure you'll be learning to another episode of the Blaque Falcon podcast with myself. You'll know who I am. And I also have a very, very, very special and very multi-talented guest with me today. Um, Also, I'd also like to wish everyone a happy new year. I'm sure that for yourselves and hopefully for myself too, will be a much more fruitful one than we had in 2020. And um, hey, the best thing to do is to make sure that you keep yourself positive, keeping safe, and keeping focused with your goals and with your achievements, and not letting the atmosphere around you kind of fear and scare you to not push yourself any further than you think you can. Yes, everyone is working into a somewhat limited capacity, working from home, using the Wi-Fi, etc. No gyms, no shops, no restaurants, and all of that. But hey, you can still make something out of nothing too, and that's why being a creative, as you'll see from this podcast today, why it's also very important to kind of get out of your comfort zone and using your creative endeavors to something that could also be possibly profitable to you, which it has been for both of us. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the one and only Jake Warner from Warner Visuals. Hi, good morning, Jake. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing very, very well. So we'll kick this podcast off with a very simple question, man. Who are you? How did you get into the creative field? And yeah, take the floor.
Thanks again. So my name is Jake Warner. I guess at the moment, I feel like I do a few things at once because lockdown and coronavirus has kind of forced us into like the fight or flight mode. You either try and carry on living how you lived before, or you adapt and find a new way to be in what is life as we know it right now. Before lockdown, I was a singer, so I traveled around the UK, touring, playing shows up and down, which was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I'm a songwriter, so I write everything that I do, and I love taking that around the country and performing it to fans. Obviously, it's a bit of a sticky one right now, trying to keep doing that in these circumstances. So I had to adapt, and I've always been a creative, and I've always been into video. So I actually doubled down on videography over lockdown at the beginning of last year, and I've kind of taken it as far as I can. Really, I'm filming for filming adverts and commercials for companies and brands, as well as lifestyle videos for individuals and building their personal brand. And I've loved the opportunities it's presented to me, and I've loved where it's taken me. So it's a way for me to stay creative whilst not being able to carry on touring in music, but still being able to express myself.
Amazing. That's incredible. Can I just ask, what is your because I just wanted to stick with the music just for just one or two questions, and then
Of
because
course.
I'm always very curious about how music is made. So in terms of when you were songwriting, then what was like your writing process? Only because I'm only asking this because obviously I'm a writer too. I've done my books and all of that.
Of course.
I know that with my mindset, when I'm writing a book, it's a completely different feeling um, than going into an office and working. It's my mind. I'm in a completely different perception of reality when I'm writing. Is that the same for you? What's like the writing process when you're doing a song?
I can definitely relate to how different it is being in an office to being on a stage and being creative, etc. And when I'm writing, yeah, it very much takes me to a new place. Throughout the day, I'll quite often have kind of surges of inspiration, and so I'll often take notes or kind of make notes on my phone, or even voice recordings of different ideas that I have as I'm going about my day. And then when I do sit down, I'll elaborate on all of those notes. I'll have hundreds of notes that are just songs that haven't yet been created. And then when I'm in the zone, I'll kind of look at which ideas I've got and which I can join together and kind of build it from there. But I did used to work in an office, but I found that I used to work in a bank. But I found that working in a bank, but having all this creativity inside me, it was such a juxtaposition of of even of mind states. It was so difficult to be, one person during the day and a completely different person during the night. I couldn't keep it up. So I've had to double down on creativity and forge my living that way.
Yeah, yeah, I totally feel that, because I know that when I was working full time in an office too, I was pretty much having to live like a double life as like, uh, construction project manager by day and then turn into the Blaque Falcon by night. That was pretty much who I was. No, I totally feel that. Totally feel that. I also find that I tend to get most of my ideas while I'm exercising too, because then I'm not really thinking about paying this or having to go there. I'm just focusing on the workout, and then that's literally when the ideas just come. Oh, why don't you do this? Why don't this happen? So, but yeah, that's cool. That's interesting. So moving on from the music, or rather the music altogether, then the music, and then also with the with your videos. How did you get into the creative field, and what exactly inspired you to just take that leap and just be a creative individual full time? Then, what kind of inspired you to drive into that?
Well, I've always had creativity inside me, and I've always needed to express myself. I mean, in school and things, I always studied things like art and graphic design, and I've always loved how it felt expressing myself in that way. I've always, even when in corporate jobs and positions, I've always found myself even trying to do those jobs creatively. I would analyze the way that they're doing a certain process and adapt it and suggest new ways that we could do it differently. And it didn't always go down well, but it was just my nature really to try and do things differently. And so it was only natural that, whether it be in music or in video, it was only natural that I find a way to make it work, because it's inside me. It's something that I need to do, and I can't see myself being any other way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally feel that. So with Warner Visuals, then how long have you been as like the visual creative artist that you are? Then how long have you been working as Warner Visuals then?
Well, I kind of founded Warner Visuals over lockdown, so it's when I really put a name on it. But so about a year I mean, sadly, we're coming up to a year of lockdown.
Yeah.
So coming up to a year in terms of operating under the name Warner Visuals. But I've been making videos, whether it be for myself, under my music, for my music, kind of filming and directing my own music videos and video content. I've been doing that for 2 or 3 years now. But then working professionally under Warner Visuals has been about a year.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So Warner Visuals is essentially a product of you adapting to the situation now. So you're still profitable, you're still working, you're still doing your thing despite all this lockdown business around us. And that's incredible. But before that, you were still pretty much doing the exact same thing, but you just created Warner Visuals as like a backdrop for who you are. So that it'll be much more easier for clients to identify you. So what are your client? Oh, so what kind of clients have you been working with then, if you're allowed to name them? Who have you worked with? Is there anyone prominent, someone that the audience people may know or may not know, besides us, of course?
I was gonna say, you might have heard of Blaque Falcon. I filmed
Yeah.
it. We filmed
Yeah.
it. That's how you and I met, filming your clothes commercial, which was amazing. I absolutely love that job, and I'm still proud of that project to this
By the
day.
way, guys, you can catch the link for both videos to the YouTube links in the description below, and also on the in both descriptions. I'm going to put the descriptions on both the Spotify and iTunes descriptions too, so you can check out the videos there. Really, really, really well done. You'll check out what I mean by this guy being super, super talented, man. It's an amazing video. But yeah, sorry, go on. Yeah, your clients. Sorry.
No, thank you for those compliments.
Yeah, definitely.
I've worked with all kinds of people, and I think that the clients that I work with is often a surprise to me. I often get asked to assist on jobs, and then realize that it's a really big. There's a guy called have you heard of Robert Rinder? He's a judge. He's a judge. He's got his own TV show and things. And
Oh, Judge Rinder. I've heard of
Judge
him.
Rinder, that's the one. Yeah, I was asked to assist on just be like an assistant cameraman on a set, and I went, and then it turned out it was him doing an interview for a charity. So that was a cool one to add to the books. But I've done Judge Rinder. I've done. I've worked for corporate clients. So Shure, which is actually
Yeah.
this microphone here. I film commercials for them. We actually just filmed their Christmas campaign for 2020, which was cool. We've done other big ones like Fudge, which is the hair product company. Work with Fudge. Did a House of Fraser. We did an advert for them over the summer last year. all kinds of different clients, and so much variation. We could do a headphones or commercial one day, then close the next day, and then I did an estate agent commercial last week, and really jumping around, and force myself to think of new ways to present these different fields. But I love it. I love having such a broad spectrum of clients.
Incredible. That is incredible because you've got a very varied list and wide variety of people,
Hmm.
of different kinds of clients now. And so now you can kind of say, yeah, I have done fashion, I've done corporate, I've also done retail, I've done real estate, and that's just a very diverse group of clients. That's incredible. So when it comes to a creative project, then, so Blaque Falcon, House of Fraser, Judge Rinda, or whoever, what is your approach in terms of working on a creative project? What's like the thinking process? You see, okay, for example, this is easy. You saw Blaque Falcon, and then what was your thinking in terms of creating what you created for our videos? Then, what was like your thinking process?
I think it's very important to differentiate the perception of, especially when I'm creating something for you, it's quite important to separate my perception of your brand to your perception of the brand as the person as the owner of the company, or whoever it is that's commissioning the video. And I would like to align, as opposed to going off everything you've done in the past, I'd like to align my creation with your own vision. So I try to, of course, I'll extensively research whatever client I'm working with, but I like to get in their own words how they see themselves perceived and what's important to them, that what they're trying to create as a perception of their brand. So I'll often create quite I'll always take notes on every phone call I take notes, because it's important to refer back to absolutely anything that a client says on the phone. I want to be able to go back to it. So I'm taking notes through every single phone call. You've got your own file of notes in my folder, kind of the phone calls that we've had, just for things that you've said, things that you value about Blaque Falcon, and how you see yourself, perceived by your audience. And so I'll take those notes, and then I'll put together some kind of storyboard, or give some references of things that I think, of ways that I think that we could create, the video going forwards, and go forwards from there, really. But it's very much based on your or the client's idea of their perception of their company, and I'll work with that as opposed to my own perception.
That is very intelligent. And by the way, I can also verify that because that's exactly what we did when we created our video. What we spoke about, myself and Vanessa, in the previous podcast was emotional intelligence, about you getting your head around what your clients actually want and your customers. And what you did was fantastic. And what she did, or what she does, is brilliant. Obviously, it's the same thing for me. Is that you also trying to, yeah, you've got your own spin, you've got your genius, you've got your approach, but it's also about making sure that the client or customer or whoever is satisfied with what you've created, based upon you trying to know what they want without them directly explaining to you. Because I remember me trying to tell you what I was expecting, but I wasn't completely direct because I was just being all fancy and creative. But then you kind of just said, okay, based upon what he said, this is what I think he wants. And it worked out perfectly. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And quite often as well, it's not always the client. The client, they might not be a public speaker, or they might not be the best. I mean, fortunately, in your case, you're a writer yourself, so you express yourself very, very concisely and very clearly, and so it's quite easy to understand what you're talking about. But sometimes clients don't really know how to explain what their brand or their company is and what it means, and it's my job to dissect that, and pull out the most important elements that they present to me.
precisely. Okay. So over the years then, as a singer, songwriter, you were touring, you were doing videos, adverts, working with a variety of clients then. How do you think that you've grown as an artist then, um, from where you started to where you are now then? How have you kind of just grown, like, in terms of comparing the Jake from back then to who you are right now? Where do you think you are in terms of how you've grown, your growth?
It's a really interesting question, because I think that I've gone from two dynamics in my in my create with my creations and with everything that I make. I've kind of felt like I've presented them in two very different ways. with music, I would often make something that I'm equally as proud of, but then as I presented it to my audience, it was always a case of, hey, please listen to this, and I always felt like to build my audience, to build my crowd, it's quite a I always felt like on the back foot, and I felt like it was very difficult to be not proud of what I've done, but it's difficult to, when you're always trying to expand and always trying to say, hey, everyone, please listen to our music, click this. Thank you for listening. Thank you for, it's a very different dynamic to creating visuals now that people come to me and say, hey, Jake, I've seen this and I love it. And I don't need people to watch my videos because I'm creating them for other people. But now people come to me and say, hey, Jake, I've seen what you've done and I love it. And I need you to do this. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And it's a very different dynamic now creating videos that, first of all, that help other people, but then I feel like the pressure's off me from getting the views personally, and I can stand back and be more proud of what it is that I've created because I'm no longer reliant. With music, I'm very sensitive to people's perception because, when you make music, you're making it for people to listen to it. Like the whole purpose of creating music is for an audience to enjoy it. And so you wait for them to say, I love this, Jake. And, and that's where I get my satisfaction from music is the response. Whereas with video, I'm far less reliant on the widespread appreciation of the video. I don't need everybody to absolutely love it. And I can having that pressure. Am I making sense?
Yeah,
Having that
no, you
pressure,
make perfect sense. I totally understand what you're saying.
having that pressure taken off me makes it so much easier for me to step back and think this is really good, and I'm really purely and honestly proud of everything I make because I'm only looking at it as a creation as opposed to, is everybody going to love this? Because I don't need to do that anymore. I'm trying to
Mhm.
impress myself and my client, and that's all that matters.
What you're doing is you are detaching yourself from your creation and being able to what's the word I'm looking for? Self-critique yourself without putting yourself down in a way.
Yeah, and just appreciate what I've done. I find myself appreciating my creations a lot more now that I'm not having the audience's perception as a factor on my opinion, if you understand.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's hard to say. It's a complex thing in my head that I'm
Yeah.
making that shift. And I think the question wasn't even the answer that I gave, but
No, no, no. You
but in
kind of
terms of
answered it.
how I've grown, it's just how I've changed how I see my work.
Yeah, exactly. Because, okay, so with my books, I can certainly see how my writing is improved from the first book to the second one. Even with the fashion lines, I can see how the brand has grown from just t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts to now doing gym wear to, well, from t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts to doing Oxford shirts, cardigans, quarter zip jumpers, like knitwear, to now doing gym wear. I can kind of see how that's evolved, and I can see how the following has actually increased organically. And because I'm not so focused on, I know it's important, but to me, it's not too important as long as the quality is there, is followers, likes. So basically, not caring so much if you're getting enough attention on social media per se or from the audience. You're also more focused about the end product. And as long as your product is quality, is good, the quality of your products are always going to be the best form of advertising anyway, no matter how much money you put on exposure, no matter how many different venues that you may perform at with your singing, no matter how many different clients you may have. House of Fraser is a massive client. So, you know, your next client might be Selfridges, for example, and the quality from, or the quality that you produce for them would then may transfer on to another client. So essentially what you're kind of creating is a reputation for yourself for the level of standard that you create on each of your schemes, if I'm making sense. Am I wrong or am I right?
No, no, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I think, and I'll always be improving. And I think that it's powerful to be able to detach yourself from, you know, social media and opinions on social media, but then also just the perception of other people in general. It's powerful to be able to detach yourself and your emotions from theirs and be able to just appreciate what you've done and your own personal progress. And if you're happy with it, it's powerful to remain happy despite whatever, whatever other opinions come in.
Precisely. Precisely. That's powerful. Okay. And finally, what's next for Warner Visuals then? What's the grand vision that you can share with us? What's coming then? Because Warner Visuals is a very, obviously I'm sure when people Google Warner Visuals, they'll probably come across Warner Brothers first, or Warner Brothers Studios. Are you part of Warner Brothers? No. But obviously, what's like the grand scheme then? Are you gonna aim to have your own studio, or to just keep going as it is? I mean, for me, I just want to just get past this pandemic nonsense first and foremost, and then I can start kind of pushing forward. But I do have my own ideas. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and you said at the end of your video that your vision going forwards is about keeping going, keep on expanding, and just keep basically keep going. At the very least, right now, it's just that we keep going, and I think that's powerful enough as it is, and that's a big enough achievement. We don't need to be too focused and too fixed on expanding and growing, because right now we're in such a unique situation, what with how the world is, that just keeping going and keeping positive and maintaining healthy and keeping your mental health and things is an achievement enough in itself. But in terms of Warner Visuals and where I would like to grow when growth is permitted by the world, I would love to. At the moment, Warner Visuals is very much myself. I attend a lot of shoots by myself, which is great, but it's also quite limiting. It means that I would often I want my clients to grow and I want my shoots to grow, but as they grow, I want my team to grow too. So that every shoot I go to, I'll bring my team, and I'll have a regular runners, regular assistants, regular makeup artists, stylists, etc., that I can bring to every shoot, and then just grow a team around me, and I can provide for other people. I don't think there's anything more rewarding than being able to pay other people and be the reason why other people can make a living themselves. But I want to be the reason why. It was when I filmed the Christmas commercial for sure last year. It was I've done a lot of shoots. I've done a lot of shoots, but that was the biggest shoot I'd done to date, where they gave me a budget that meant that I was able to hire a team of something like, I think we had 10 or 12 people that had worked on the shoot with me, but I was able to actually hire and pay the day rate for those people. And I want to do more like that going forwards, because it felt good to produce a product which not only reflected having a 10-man team, but in terms of the quality and how it looked, but also it just feels great to have a team around me that we're there creating together. We're like a band. We just created it together, but as well as that, I'm able to pay them, which just feels great.
Yeah, I totally know that. I've certainly had that feeling in working in some of the photo shoots and projects, just being able to pay people and basically just being able to invest them for their time. And no, it is a good feeling knowing that people are benefiting from your own creation. That's just, that is one of the best feelings in the world. That's amazing. So all right then. On that note, we will see you next time then, Falcon family. Big shout out to Jake and Warner Visuals. Again, I'm gonna put you can check out the description below. I'm going to put Jake's links in there. I'm also going to put the YouTube links to our videos so you can check them out. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe on everything that we do. It kind of just helps out with the algorithms and all that. But yeah, check us out. All right. Peace and love.